All right. Yo, yo, yo. It is August 29th, Friday, for Labor Day weekend. And I want to go over my trades for today and talk a little bit about where I'm at with things and all that type of stuff. Doing this on recording so that I can show you the screen and everything. So, first, the day started off 4 a.m. pre market. I got those wild hair Rich Tech Robotics kind of went the other day, and we ran it for 20%, and that was the day then I overtraded and gave it all back. But I'm like, this thing might be good for like a little speculative investment or something. So I put like literally not that much money in it, and basically all of a sudden pre-market, you can see here, it got a volume spike, and it started to like rip up a bit. Um, and so I basically just like sold up here, um, and knew I could like potentially re-enter. Knew we were going to get close to pre-market coming to a close, and a lot of people would get out and all that type of stuff. But anyways, I basically sold up here for a nice little gain, and that was the first trade of the day, all before pre-market. I think I made 13% return on that. Like I said, it wasn't a huge dollar amount. So then coming into the market today, I've been going back and forth of like, okay, I'm playing breakouts, so I need to do screens for, stocks that look like they're going to break out. And I had done that all week and, found a couple, and a couple of them worked, and most of them I basically didn't follow through with, didn't take the opening setup, or didn't, believe it when it broke out, didn't think that it was, a legitimate one, or, it wasn't going to go. And maybe I was in it for a little bit and then got out, and it was frustrating because a lot of them, played out and did really well. Or I just like missed my entry for whatever reason, which I don't even think it was missing the entry. I think it was just being afraid to take uh, the trade, more or less, than anything, because of fear of being wrong, I guess, or fear of losing money, one or the other. Even though I had set like, okay, this is the target, like if it breaks through this target, like that's the breakout level, and we're entering. But there's just so many tickers that I had on my watch list, and it's like a number of them would break out, and I'm like, which one do I take, and all that type of stuff. And so, um, a bit of a struggle following too many tickers on that. And then, just doing thinking at night, I started figuring it's like, I really want to create as mechanical as a system as I can, as repeatable of a system as I can, but we'll get to that. So, anyways, coming into the market, we were at all-time highs, and Nasdaq was still kind of lagging SPY or ES, and there's a bit of SMT there. And for some reason, just felt like we were going to be a little bearish today. So it wasn't a hard bias, but I was leaning more towards not taking longs, unless I found things that were breaking out, but which I still had a couple on my list. But anyways, always kind of panicked around the market open, like nervous. So many alerts are going off. This stock broke through. This stock broke through. And it's like, I never know which one to look at, and it's a bit overwhelming. Prices moving so fast. So I definitely need to like get it to where I'm just looking at a couple tickers, and I have a couple ones that I really think will work. And the thing was, I had a couple that I was looking at, maybe two or three, and they didn't really look too promising. And maybe it's just with more market experience, I will see that, I just kind of gravitate to the ones that look like they're going to work, and, know not to spend any mental time looking at something that isn't presenting an opportunity. But I guess for whatever reason, last night I basically went to figure out companies that are large, that trade a lot of volume, because I want stocks that don't have big spreads. I want stocks that I don't have to sit there every time, because what some of the issue I was having when I was doing these breakouts is like, I would get in something and then the options wouldn't move, or they'd just be super illiquid, and you couldn't, and you weren't getting good fills, and it's just like, or they're nickel spreads and like stuff that I'm just like, dude, I don't want that. So I want to find, companies and tickers that I know the options have plenty of volume. I know the spreads are tight. I know I'm going to, be able to, and then just start to get to know those ones and trade those ones based on their moves. Because I really don't need, 25 tickers, or I don't need only breakouts. Like, I need to be able to look at a chart and see where price wants to go, or where I think it wants to go for the day, and kind of play in that direction. And so anyways, I come up with a couple, 10, 15 companies and prioritize them on my list as I was coming into market. And so when market opened, the first thing that caught my eye was Oklo. It had pretty much, and I'll bring that up here. So pretty much coming in, and the thing was, I wasn't looking at SPY or anything. I knew they were down, but I didn't know, I wasn't watching them like right on market open to see like, okay, did they dump? Did they, what I need to be better at like looking at both of those. So anyways, and this is the 1 minute I was about to say. I can't remember if I was looking at the 1 minute on this today or not. But anyways, when we opened, I basically saw, and I can't remember if I looked at this on the daily or not. But anyways, this was kind of the daily chart here. So anyway, I don't think I looked at that prior, really. I mean, it might have been on my like breakout list, to be honest with you. But when it was basically didn't break out over the top and it looked like it wanted to go down on the 5 minute, I basically jumped into two, I think right after this first 5 minute candle. So literally at 9:36, I jumped into puts, and I had been telling myself like I'm gonna do 30 days out, and all that. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I was like, I'm just gonna do the 0 days. And maybe it was because it was less dollar amount, and I'm still trying to figure out that whole thing. Like, why is it that these further out options seem a lot safer when it's like I can, if there are 50 delta, they move 50 cents on a $1 move, both of them, all the contracts. So it doesn't really matter whether I have a fast moving contract or not, assuming like I size my position right and I know what my max loss is and all of that. But anyways, I get inputs. So I get two of them right there, and I pretty much was only in it for, I can't remember if I was watching the 1 minute or the 5 minute, but I basically got in at 36.15 and was out by 37.23. So we'll look at it on the 1 minute, because maybe that's what I was looking at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here, and then pretty much like probably there, I was already out, because that's 36. Wait, 35, 36. Okay, so I got in there, and then boom, flush down here, 37. Pretty much right around the bottom of 37 at the end of that candle is where I got out. So it was probably like a 76.47 down to 75.89. So like a half, not even 75-cent move. And the contracts went about 20%, and I sold both of them. But here's my thing, like, and then on the next candle, the next 5 minute candle, it like moved up And I'm like, after I got out, I'm like, oh, that was the right move, like it retraced up. But I'm pretty sure VWAP was right over this the whole time. And like, I don't know why I think like the stock's just gonna like just rip out of there and jump $4 like right away. Like maybe it's just this panic that I have. But anyways, those contracts ended up, I mean, that's about the smoothest ride down that you can get. You know what I mean? When I pick the direction, I'm in the contracts. Like I go a little green and I just take the gain. When it's like this move right here, those options went over 250%, right? And it's like I really probably didn't even need to get out until like this retracement here, which wasn't even a break of structure on the 5 minute. You know what I mean? Like, and I definitely probably would have gotten out all down here if I hadn't, especially after this like double bottom here thing, whatever that is. Like, I definitely probably would have got out. And so that's kind of a theme and something that I'm trying to work on is like, why am I getting out of these trades so fast? I think it's fear of losing money, fear of being wrong. I'm almost to the point where I'm just going to like either hold the trade until I hit my max loss or until the chart gives me like a legitimate 5 minute reason to get out or something. I know price doesn't always just go this smooth, but I should have been paying attention to the indices too, which were selling off as well in a very similar fashion. Very smooth down move, and I just wasn't even like, and that would have been able, because then I go on to take like 3 other trades today throughout the next hour and a half or whatever, and hit all of them and made money on all of them. But like I could have just sat in that one trade and let it play out, and instead of having to have 4 different entries, 4 different, trade, like in and then out, like 4 different ones, and just bouncing around for like a little gain here, little gain here, little gain, and these scalps, when it's like, so that's that. So then my brother was in Dell, and that stock sold off pretty big on earnings today. Like it was down, you can see here, like boom, like 6% on the earnings, and then it creeped down here before market open, and then the stock ended up selling off like down 10% right here. And so somewhere around like here, I got in a long dated call. So I'm like, yeah, I could swing this. Like I looked at the higher time frame, and it was at like a decent like support level. I think it was like, I'm like, oh, like this, multiple touches here. Like, I feel like this is, it was bought up here. Like, I felt good about the fact that, I don't think it's going to continue to just, nosedive or anything. And especially since there have been a couple candles flat, but I wasn't certainly sure. I wasn't at all. And so anyways, I got in calls there, and I think I sold like on this rip up here, right? And then that made me call it like, I don't know, like what percentage, but it made me a good amount. But it's like looks like I could have sat in that the whole time. Like, I don't know that we ever got a break of structure on the 5 minute at all. And it's like, I just, if I had this thought that it was going to continue to go up, like I could have held that. And that contract, even though it was like a longer dated one, like it still went from, 880 to $10. So that would have been significant as well. Again, another trade where maybe I thought, oh, maybe I'm only right on these scalps. Maybe I'm not right on higher time frames. And so, anyways, then so made money there, but then okay, boom. So then I move on to CoreWeave, same thing. All right, this thing sells off like pretty good, and I had some levels marked out on my other account of like 96 being kind of the main support level. And so when I saw this like doji candle here, that was pretty much when I entered. Very well knowing that it could continue to sell off down to that 96, but I wasn't sure and I wanted to get something. We had just had a big run up. I know this stock like does sell off quite a bit back and forth. So, and I knew that there was a big gap down here from this. I knew there was a big gap down here that I wanted to fill from this pre-market and, aftermarket pre-market run up on NVIDIA earnings. So I knew it wanted to fill that gap, which it did. And I literally said that coming in to today. So it's like I could have been playing puts the whole time. But anyways, this up here didn't scream downside to me. So, and I was watching it, but so I didn't enter on it. But then after whatever I did those trades, I came back here, saw the doji candle. So I entered a was it in October, like $115 call, two of them. And again, another thing, it's like I was watching it on the 1 minute and the 5 minute, and I think it got this little rip up here, maybe even just a little bit, because I don't even think I was in the trade for more than like the Dell trade I was in for 8 minutes. This CoreWeave trade I was in for 8 minutes. So literally probably there to there. You know what I mean? And I did have a level up here that it came up and rejected off of. And so I thought, oh, that was a good call, like, because it rejected and then was going to go back down. But then the stock continued to go up pretty much all day, right? They just wanted to fill that gap. And I can't hold trades, I guess. Because that option went same thing, went from 455 to where I purchased it at to 640 by end of day. And I had told myself like, oh, if it dipped back down to X, Y, or Z level, like I would pick up some more, long dated calls. This all coming from someone who like made money today and probably made more today than I made on last month, or last week or whatever. What I made in a week, I made in a day. But I need to be better. I need to improve. These are things that like I'm seeing. It's like, okay, if my entries are good, if I have the right idea, it's like maybe I need to just have balls to sit in it and hold it, and be proved that I'm wrong. It's something that I'm working on. So then I want to pivot to this whole like options contract thing. So like I think when I first started, like I was doing the 0 days on SPY, and one, I didn't know about how to enter. I was risking very, very little. And so I would set a stop loss on those and I would get stopped out immediately and the thing wouldn't even have moved yet. And I think I was just like so afraid of losing money and didn't know what I was doing. But I got real experience and learned a lot of the execution errors and things, how to use the program, take trades, exit trades, all that. So I'm a lot better at that now. I'm still not super aware of like what else is going on while I'm in the trade. I'm usually still kind of sweating it. But lately I've been taking like longer dated options, even on day trades. And it's like, if the delta is 0.5 and the thing's going to move 50 cents on a $1 move, why do I care whether I have time if I know it's a day trade regardless? Yeah, I don't want to necessarily do 0 days because of the theta decay. And like if I'm going to hold it all day, like it needs to really move in my direction. Otherwise, I'm just going to be like burning, the premium. But I feel like I should at least be able to do the weeklies. Maybe not yet, but it's like right now, it's like I'm going to try to do 2 weeks out and just see what happens. And then move, to the weeklies after that. If I can be, comfortable and like, okay, things are working and then do that. Because I'm not really seeing the benefit to taking those longer out contracts. If the delta is still the same and you're getting the same dollar return on the same move, I don't understand why I would need to do that. But Like if I didn't know if it was a swing or a day trade, then that would be completely different. And if I think it's going to be a swing, then yeah, I will buy more time and know that, okay, I'm patient on this one. This isn't necessarily like just a day trade. Like the CoreWeave one, that one technically I did the right thing. Like, but I just still should have held it, right? Especially if it was playing out in my direction. Um, so that piece I'm actively thinking about. But when it comes to my system and my strategy, I'm narrowing it down to where it's like I'm figuring out exactly the type. Like I'm just gonna figure out a couple tickers that I want to trade. I'm gonna try to get good at trading those, and trading on the open, obviously, where price wants to go, and playing the best setups that I see. It could be the 5 minute break. It could be a fair value gap on something, a video. It could be, I don't know. It could be a lot of things. But what's up, Lulu? But as far as like figuring out the options, figuring out exactly like what I'm risking, what I'm trying to make, and keeping the variables consistent, that's what I feel like is going to help me. Obviously, I need to understand the strategy. Obviously, risk management and mentality and all that needs to be in check. But if I can keep the variables the same, I'll have a better idea of what I need to tweak when something's not working. Because I feel like with a lot of these like breakouts and stuff, like I was saying, there's just too many variables, right? Oh, I did the trade right, but then the options didn't move and my sizing was wrong or this and that. And it's just like, I need to keep as many things consistent as I can so that once I know what I'm doing and I can repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, then I can scale it and all of that. So going into this long weekend, I'm going to spend some time thinking about that. I'm going to spend time reflecting on the fact that I seem to not be able to hold a trade. And like I did some work, on just like the different things like the theta decay, the gamma, and trying to really figure out like why am I trying to take these longer out options, and they move slower, but it's the same dollar amount, like, and you're having to put up more capital for the options. Like, I don't know, theoretically, like I guess you could have technically a black swan event where some crazy news event comes out and the stock you're in goes the complete opposite direction by 15-20%. And technically, if you're in a longer out option, yeah, you have more time for it to recover, but you're also going to be in the hole a lot more capital because if I'm doing 0 days or 1 week, the capital that I'm in the trade with is absolutely the max I could lose on that trade, right? So there is that piece as well. Like if something happens, the internet shuts down and I can't trade anything, like whatever I'm in on that goes to zero, and that's going to be a lot less capital than if I was trading, longer out options and need more contracts to get the same dollar move. But anyways, that's what I got. All in all, I was 4-4 today and made a lot of money, so I'm not mad. I see error. I see things that need to be better. I see errors, and I really do have high goals when it comes to this, especially for next year. And we've got 3 months left in this year, and I'm setting up goals for each of these months, not necessarily monetary, but things I want to get better at. And so I'm going to write those down this weekend and try to execute them in the next week, and then the next week and the next week, and see, really find where I need to keep improving my strategy and stuff. And who knows, like maybe all of this leads us back to ending up just trading, SPY and QQQ, but it's like, we got to go through this process to learn, and I do have some friends who are trading. A lot of them are just they have different styles. But I have one friend who trades QQQ and does it full time. He's a younger guy and only trades SPY and does 0 days. And so I definitely want to sit down with him and, get his insight on some of these things and see some of the mistakes that I'm making and how he deals with, not holding trades long enough or like just things that I'm dealing with. So that's what I got. Thank you all for listening to this.